Okay, hey, we're back.
Forward number one.
Yes, that's right. Now we got Sean Connery in the house.
I'd like to
Disguised
get
as
to
my
know
brother
you better.
Stephen, my partner. We have Paka Doc and my lovely son Lucas. Yes, this is us. I know I always
His
forget to say
confession
my
was
name.
coerced.
You know
Sorry,
what? We
I'll
could
stop.
just we could just do this the next hour. It wouldn't bother me one bit. So, I mean, this is for our own amusement, right? That's what this is about.
Sure heard.
Well, another fine week as a Giants fan. So we're going to talk Cowboys. Obviously, we'll start with some nostalgia, and I think after last week, it was kind of at least fun for me to talk about the Browns game from years ago where Lucas entered the world. So, and I realized reflecting, and I'm sure my brother Pete, when he watches this, will have lots of comments about the games I'm going to mention. But yeah, I've seen some fantastic things from the Cowboys side. At the time, I hated them, but looking back, they're kind of cool. So, like the first one is first Cowboys game I ever saw in person. They were led the Cowboys on a last-minute comeback by captain comeback Roger Staubach. So there's something for you.
Old guys.
Yeah, and you were there, Steve, at that one.
Oh, yeah.
So we saw Roger together. But of
What was
course,
that,
the
like
Giants
79?
Yeah, Giant. Well, Pete will correct us if it's not, but I think it was
Right,
79. So, Pete, start writing these things in the comments. That'll make it funnier. Like, don't text me. Just go into the comments on YouTube and write, "You're wrong. It was 80," or no, pretty sure it was 79.
All great podcasts get things wrong. It can't be a great podcast if you're factually correct all the time.
No, because where else do you get the controversy, which increases viewership?
Well, we're Steve and I are about to have a discussion here when I talk about one of them because we were trying to figure out where we've actually both at this game. But the next one I'll talk about though is because I don't remember what year this was, but I'm pretty sure I was in college, so it might have been late '80s. But we went to see the Cowboys. And in the old stadium, our seats were third row from the field, right? So as you know, you guys have had this experience. You get there early, you go down, and there's all kinds of other fans there because this was when the other team would warm up right in front of us. And so you can't even get to your seat because all the knucklehead Cowboy fans are there. Well, sure enough, there's these two cowboy idiots in complete cowboy face paint, like just stars on their faces and total absolute morons. And they're literally in our row. And I'm like, hey, guys, come on, moving out. They're like, no, man, these are our seats. I'm like, no, we've been sitting here since they opened this place. These are not your seats. So this kind of goes back and forth. Call the usher down. Sure enough, we were section 140. These morons were section 139. So they were in the right row, just one section off. So they toddle off, and I notice that they're in the same row, and they're off to our right. Game goes on. I can't remember specifics about the game, but at a certain point, there's a commotion. And back in the day, there were a lot more commotions. And
there were a lot more fights back in the day. There really were.
The fights would break out, and it was, you had something to look at if the game was boring. You just would know. You'd hear the crowd, you'd pivot. Oh, look. Well, this time I look over, and sure enough, it's the two Cowboys fans. And not shocking because they were obnoxious idiots, but one gentleman was kind of holding both of them, one of the largest humans I've ever seen, and just absolutely lighting them up. And like face paint is flying off of these guys as they're getting pummeled. And of course, then security comes down. And what does security do back then? They take the Cowboy fans away.
They escort the Cowboys fans out of the stadium.
So
doesn't matter who's right or wrong. You don't belong here.
Doesn't matter. Whoever was pummeling him, I think, he didn't have to buy beer the rest of the night, I'm sure. So nowadays they just give the guy a therapy dog and hope he can make it through the game. Yeah, do you guys recall seeing big fights at games, Lucas and Drew?
I would say my Cowboy story revolves around one almost starting, but
please go ahead, tell. Please tell.
So this was say 2 years ago now. It was a Monday night game. I went with my buddy Joe, as you guys know. Joe's gone to a bunch of games with me now. Real close friend of mine. It was a Monday night game. Let's just say it was an instance where I'm an adult now, so I enjoy the pregame festivities. Get a lot of liquor. So
a beverage or two.
A beverage or two. Same for everyone in the stadium at this point. It's Monday night, prime time. It was the first time they did that whiteout deal, so everybody's in the white. So in that sense, I have the jersey. So it's whiteout. I'm wearing a white jersey. I have Pop-Pop's jersey with me. Now, I'm not wearing it, but it's in the stadium. I have it with me. You know,
honoring it, yes.
Honoring. It's there, right? So it gets to the point of the game where we kind of know what direction it's going in. Cowboys are looking like they're going to pull this off. So this is probably the longest I've stayed for a game in a while. So it's me, Joe, and then two of his buddies that ended up coming with us. And the Giants fans are leaving. And as the game's winding down, more Cowboys fans start working their way down. Yeah. Right? So we're staying. And now it's at the point now where nobody's really sitting. They're just standing because you know us and our standing up stories. That could be another time.
Oh, yeah.
A guy starts making his way down. And during the game, we had banter with Cowboys fans the whole game. But they were cool about it. It was funny banter. Like, we would score. We were in their face. They would score. So it was, we were all on the same page. This obnoxious guy comes down. And you can tell he's had a little too much to drink. And he's a fan. He can say what he wants to say. But at one point, he starts getting up closer behind me. And he starts to make references to the jersey because I have Pop-Pop's jersey on my shoulder. Now, see, beverages, liquid courage,
we're escalating.
Escalating, but in my head, I've always, you guys have taught us well, save the seats. If there's any type of anything in my, if we get in trouble, think of the seats. So in my head, I'm like, I'm biting my tongue. I'm like, all right. This guy's talking. Now, Joe, my friend, is a pretty big fella. And he's next to me. And he turns around and he tells the guy, if you don't leave, we're going to have an absolute problem. And this is going to escalate. So, the usher finally tells the guy to go up to his seats. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, all right, as soon as we leave these seats, we're going past this guy. It might go down. So I'm like, stretching, I'm like cracking my neck. I'm like, all right,
gloves on.
I'm like, this is gonna happen. Joe's already fired up because he knows what the jersey means to us. He knows that we can't really do anything. He was like, look, he's like, I'm a ride for you, brother, but in this instance, like, I know you can't do nothing, and that's why you're biting your tongue. He said, anywhere else, I know this guy would have been, a split pea. So we're going up and we're walking, and I got the guy in my sights, and we're like 10 rows up, and he's already jarring, Joe's already jarring, and the famous words go, "Meet me in the parking lot," and it's going down. Eventually, it was too many people. We all veered off. Nothing happened, but it was one of those instances where I was like, "Think of the seats. Don't lose the seats.
Good for you.
This could be bad.
Boy. Good boy.
This could be bad."
Boy.
But
yeah. It's Dallas is definitely the most common because they're like a virus. They just permeate down. How about you, Lucas? Any Cowboy memories from games?
I think I only saw the Cowboys one time.
Was it the time where it was you and Alex and me and my friend Steph? Because I thought the four of us. I thought you were with me when.
Yeah, I remember that one was an opening night game.
Okay, then you probably had more than maybe two. So.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember Jason Witten had like a lacerated spleen. It was doubtful. Still played the game and then dominated us the entire game. And I was like, just someone just hit this guy in his ribs and just end this. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
give him a shot in his spleen.
Yeah, just one helmet to the back and you're done. Come on, man.
Well, no, it's funny you mention a Cowboy fan injured chewing us up because I was arguably Emmitt Smith's most famous non-playoff
separated
game.
Shoulder.
That's right. It was last game of the season, January of '94. They beat us 16-13 overtime. Emmitt separated his shoulder, didn't even want to go in overtime. They pushed him into it, taped him up. He runs like 52 yards on the drive, and they kick a field goal to win. And it was it was a ridiculous effort. Like now, I'm proud to say I was there. It was a Hall of Famer doing something spectacular. They won the division because of it. Like, 'cause it was a meaningful game. We thought, think about that. We almost won the division in a season the Cowboys won the Super Bowl. Like, that's not that's not a bad thing at all. But that was ridiculous to watch. I did get to see Dion return a punt for the Cowboys for a touchdown. Again, at the time, absolutely hated it because he was doing the prime dance down the sidelines, the hand back, but it was a thing of beauty. But then Steve, the one we were texting about earlier, deciding what we were together.
Well, it's one of those weird things where like you talk about something for so long, you can't tell if you were there or you just remember it as if you were there. Yeah. But Frank and I both have divergent memories of being at the same game at the same time, but not remember being there with each other.
Yeah.
So, like, I haven't been to that many Monday night games. I think I've been to maybe 3 in the 50 years we've been going. But I remember being there for Phil Simms' jersey retirement in '95. It was the first game of the year in '95. It was a Monday night. And I remember it because I remember we got to witness now, like we're talking, and Frank was there too, but like I said, we don't remember being there with each other. But I remember him throwing the pass to LT at halftime when they were down 28-0.
Yeah.
And everybody stayed just for that. After LT caught the pass, everybody up, and we're gone. The stadium was empty because the fourth quarter there were no points scored, and it was 35-0 going into the fourth. It was a horrible. It was one of the worst Giants games I've ever gone to as far as the Giants' performance. Yeah. But I remember that specific moment because LT was running in sandals. I was like, he's going to bite it. He's going to bite it. But he didn't. He actually caught the pass.
And it was the best pass of the night by a Giants quarterback. So there's that.
Oh, by far.
But what's funny is if you ever hear LT tell the story, there's a couple interesting things. One, he and Simms were actually on the outs a bit. They hadn't talked in a while. And when this came up, Phil called him and said, I want you to be there. So it actually was a repairing thing in the relationship. But LT's so funny. He goes, I'm there. I got these, sandals on. He's dressed in a nice suit. He goes, and I had a couple of beers. And then Simms says to him, all right, I want you to go out for a pass. He's like, are you kidding me? You want me to run out for a pass? I got these shoes on. And he goes, I thought I'd just go out for a little 5 yard. He's just patting. Like, come on, keep going. So, yeah. But that was, I think I left 5 minutes later. But here's why I remember that I know I was there. The company I was working for at the time, our senior vice president was a big Cowboys fan, and he just was riding me all the time. And I came back the next day, and on my computer, when I came it up, he had changed my home screen. It was a picture of Emmett. In that game, he had a 60-yard touchdown, and at the 50,
4 touchdowns.
He turned around and waved bye-bye. So I had this picture of Emmett going like this, and it's 35-0 on my screen when I came in the next day. So that's why I absolutely know I was there, because they got me pretty good. It was good trolling.
Yeah, he had 4 touchdowns that game.
He did.
Yep.
All right, well, we've delayed it long enough. Let's get into Thursday night. So, all right, I'm going to read this just to start it off. This cracked me up when I went back and looked. But, Steve, you put out a stat. Did you remember what you put out? Right before the game started.
It was the polar opposite the whole game.
Exactly. Go ahead, say it. You put it out, so I'll let you talk about it.
Well, I was pointing out that up until that game, the Cowboys had given up 90% of the time. Teams getting in the red zone, the Cowboys had given up a touchdown, and the Giants had only given up 33%. So it's if it comes down to teams in the red zone, the Giants are better than the Cowboys. We'll see what happens. And then the game happened and changed everything.
Right. That's right. All right. Who wants to fire the first shot? I'm going to give it to Lucas. Lucas, talk to me about at least Daniel Jones. What did you think of his performance?
I mean, I can't say he played bad. He didn't play badly. He doesn't elevate our team to where, all we needed was one touchdown that whole time, right? All we needed was one, and we would have been fine. That's what really killed us. But if you look at the only difference between him and Dak's stats were Dak threw 2 touchdowns and he didn't. Otherwise, he played the exact same game that Dak did. I can't be mad at his performance or how he did, but it just kind of sucks that he couldn't elevate us one time over the hump, do something beyond the X's and O's to make a difference to get us in the end zone.
Yeah. Drew, thoughts on that? I see the blood coming down your lip, like biting through it. So
I agree because like you said, it was a couple plays away. I think what plays into that is I think we can all agree since his injury bug started to happen, his deep ball has diminished. I remember earlier in his career, he had a solid deep ball. He used to take shots, and we could be like, all right, this is, at least it's in the catch radius. Some of these deep throws, they're 10, 15 yards too far, too short. Yeah. How many times he could have led Malik Neighbors a couple times, and it's either a touchdown or a long game compared to just barely picking up a first down. So it was so frustrating that we had so many instances where a deep ball, I would have been even just happy if someone was able to make an attempt on the ball. Some of these, you're like, he's just throwing it, and you're just like, all right, it's like a punt. You're like, what is he doing? I just didn't
give me at least a 50-50 ball. Let your receivers compete, right? Especially the way Neighbors is just ridiculous. And again, he was solid again on Sunday night. Well, Steve, you said that article on Jones. What came out of that for you, and just that analysis?
So, I mean, obviously, one of the things that I think is going on with quarterbacks, we've touched on this a little bit, is the anticipation of getting them out there on day one and making them the guy before they've earned it or really even learned anything about the pro game. I mean, the difference between pro and college is stark. It's the talent level is ridiculous, but whatever. So, one of the things coming out of college, one of my favorite quarterbacks, and you guys do not know this, was David Carr from Fresno State.
I've always been a big fan of his too.
He threw a beautiful ball. He was a good quality quarterback, and he came out, but he was first drafted by the Texans in their first year.
No. Oh, you're good, David. I'm sorry, not David.
Not Derek.
Yes, David. Sorry,
right?
Our backup
he was
quarterback.
The first.
He won a ring.
Were they both from Fresno State?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they both
came through Fresno, but like a decade apart. But David Carr was awesome in college, but he got there, and he's to this day he's still been sacked more times in one season than any other quarterback in history. I think it was like 78, which is almost 5 a game.
It's like 3 or 4 a game. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 times 16 is 80.
Yeah, no, right, closer to 5.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, so imagine 5, and that's 5 sacks a game. That's not hits. That's not pressures. That's 5 sacks a game. So, needless to say, the guy was destroyed by a bad offensive line, and he never got it back. But here's what I find interesting about David Carr, and I'll correlate it in a moment, is in his 5th year, he led the NFL in completion percentage at almost 70% in his 5th year. Because they shortened the game for him, and they let him throw it easy to build confidence. But the problem is it wasn't effective in pushing defenses. So the numbers looked okay, but he wasn't doing anything to win. And that's where we are with Jones. He had a good completion percentage, but it's, he's averaging like 6.5 yards per attempt, which is crap comparatively. And he hit 200 yards? I think he's got one game for over 200 yards for the season out of 4.
280. He threw 280 on, and then I think in the Browns game he also threw over 200. He's had a couple. Yeah. He's like 11th in passing yards actually. He's actually not doing too shabby.
But I mean it's just, and to me Singletary's done enough outside of the fumbling to not force Jones to be the running game. So I feel like I said, I feel like they're finding ways to get him to be successful for himself to build his confidence. That's not exactly becoming successful for the team challenging defenses.
I do think he needs one of the tight ends to step up too. Like he needs that kind of intermediate target, because it's either checking down to a running back or a bubble screen, or Drew's biting. Go ahead, Drew. Go.
It's because all this is tying into what I want to say. It literally makes my blood boil.
You have the floor.
I've never seen a football team, and this even predates Dable. It's just been a trend for almost my whole life.
Yeah.
Never aggressive enough on third down. Everything has to be short of the sticks, and they want the guy to make a play. I'd rather us take chances over the 10 yards, even further. I'd rather you take a shot than sit there and throw a 3 to 4 yard dump pass on 3rd and 10 and expect our guy to win a one-on-one every single time. It literally makes my blood boil. We do it every season. I don't know why they just can't just figure it out. It's been every coaching regime we've had.
Yep.
I just sit there and I go, 3rd and 10, here we go, dump pass, and see if somebody can make somebody miss and get the first down.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a microcosm of what then happens in the red zone. The same sort of conservative, like no creativity, sort of play calling. Yeah, like I don't get it at all. We get so conservative. Like that's why we have how many kickers in our top 100? Is it
6,
7,
800?
Exactly.
That's the difference between field goals and touchdowns, though.
Well,
look at
did Jones even have an attempt that was in the end zone? I don't think he even had an attempt in the end zone.
He might not have.
At the end of the game when he had the Hail Mary shot that ended up getting picked. So that was at the end.
And if you're in the red zone ever, to not even take one shot, like even if you're only in the red zone once in an entire game, to not even take one shot in the end zone is insane to me.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And the overall just back-to-back comedy of this team of losing a game to a team that could only kick field goals and then losing a game because you could only kick field goals. Like it's just hysterical to me that's the back-to-back outcomes. Like a game with no kicker and a game where it was only kicker. Like,
and to even throw more salt in the wound to think that everybody's seeing Washington as this unstoppable force and we could have just beat them in an ugly game. And the same thing with the Cowboys. If we would have won those 2 games, imagine what the league thinks of us right now.
I know.
It's a totally different story.
So,
3-1.
I'm going to bring up a rant I've wanted to go on for a while. I'm going to try and not keep it and make it long, but it's certainly a controversial issue. But I am, and I've said this for years, and I think all of you have heard me say it, but we have to get rid of replay. It needs to go. And here's why. If you're not going to use it on penalties, like a face mask that's called on the wrong guy. Like, I mean,
the wrong team. The wrong team, not the wrong guy. The wrong team.
Team, exactly. That's what I mean.
It's worse. Like I've seen penalties get. That was that cost us 4 points. That we might have scored a touchdown.
At least
that was an 8-point swing right there. Yeah.
It's a whole different dynamic. If that, I mean, I could not believe how obviously backwards it was. And what's funny is they started to talk before they called it, and they still got it wrong. Like,
right.
What?
And the guys in the booth had already established who it was on, and they were like moving on to the next play, and they're like, "Wait, what?"
And I'm sorry, penalties have just as much impact on this game nowadays as anything else. And so if you're not going to use them on replay, when a lot of times they're more obvious than fumbles and other things. You know, like let's go back to the New Orleans pass interference in the playoffs years ago. It ran through the guy's chest. How do you not do that on replay, right? I mean,
to tie into that, and to your point, the holding call. It wasn't like there was one ref that threw a flag. They said there was multiple flags. Yeah. If they're throwing a flag, there's an intent of a penalty. Why are we all picking them up? What
exactly.
It's like if you threw the flag, which one of you disagreed and convinced all the other ones? It was like 12 angry men in reverse.
Yeah, we had a touchdown taken away and a touchdown given to the other team in the same game by penalties. It's just wild.
So I find it more frustrating to have replay available and not use it for things like this. Let's just take it away, because there's plenty of times they get it wrong with replay when they even use it, and the game would go faster, because there's nothing more soul-sucking when you're at the game than having to sit there for frickin' 5 minutes of nothing happening, especially when it's cold out, while they try to figure out what happened.
Anyway.
Right.
Well, just as a side note, just in the Vikings game yesterday, which was a weird game, at one point the Vikings were 28-7, and Darnold throws a pass right by the goal line. It would have been 35-7, right?
Yeah.
It was obviously out of bounds when the guy caught it. When he caught it, his knees hit out of bounds. Everybody saw it. Everybody was the official in the booth said it's not an interception. They went to commercial. They came back. Green Bay's running a play. They never said what happened, why it was turned around, nothing. Just went from the Vikings being almost 35-7 to Green Bay having the ball, and then that started the whole comeback. That play. Because it's 35-7 versus 28-7, and a momentum switch is a big shift.
Agreed.
And then the Vikings didn't sniff it again.
The same crew that did our game for the Cowboys did the Steelers game. And they had an egregious
play.
Yeah, the Fitzpatrick play. He's running, hits the guy shoulder to shoulder right after the ball's gone. Pass interference, roughing the the receiver, or whatever. 15 yards post down the court, and then the game. And it was just like, this guy. This is the worst officiating crew of all time.
They don't hold them accountable, so they just keep reffing that way. There's no type of policing for the refs. They do
the only thing they get is they don't make the playoffs if they have so many complaints against them or something like that. There is like a minor one, but it's like, all right.
But I'm tired, and I'm tired of the excuse like, well, it's bang bang on the scene, but it's not anymore. In the 70s it was. You made bad calls, you saw what you saw, and you did your best.
Yeah.
But now, when you can see literally 7 to 10 different angles in slow-mo,
and you can
perfectly
see
aligning exactly what happened, making a bad call instantaneously.
We can call a guy out because we can see a turf bead fly up, but we can't get a face mask penalty corrected.
Exactly.
Flew up.
Exactly right. All right, let's go to and I don't want to spend too much time on the D, but that stat about Burns was shocking. That he had
not even a pressure.
25 rushes of the passer and did not have a pressure. Yikes. I mean, thoughts on
Tibbs
that?
And Lawrence were playing. Tibbs and Lawrence were playing. It's not like he was on an island getting double and triple teamed.
Crazy to think. I looked into that more. I saw the Panthers fans replying to those tweets about it.
No.
They go,
oh no.
They go, oh, are you surprised? He's done this many times in the last couple seasons where he has a certain amount of
how does it feel?
Buyer beware.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, oh, first time? You know. All right, cool.
I did see Dex had some record set with the most percentage of being double teamed in a single game or something ridiculous like that. It was like over 85% of the time. And like PFF was like, "Oh my God, the rookie center did so well." And then Dex responded to it. He's like, "No, I was beating him so badly, like it didn't matter." Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right.
And without a pass rush, our young defensive backs are exposed.
Oh.
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing the best. It's obvious they're doing the best they can, but they're young. They don't know, and we've got some injury concerns. Well, if we're not getting pressure, we got nothing.
We're down to our
timing because we're going to transition now to who sent the text. So,
all right.
During the game, we have a group text going, and sometimes emotion comes into play. Sometimes guys,
surely not
things be said, and I'll start with some about the defensive back. So. Banks is flaming hot dog shit. Who do we think said that one?
I'm going to default to the person who played defensive back.
There we go. That would be Paca. Well, and I'll pile it on. A little while later, there was Banks needs to be working at 7-Eleven. So he's...
I can't tell if that's better or worse than flaming hot dog shit. So he's employable. Okay.
Death, taxes, and throwing short on third down. Who said that?
Yeah. I think I'm gonna go do it again.
I'm gonna
do it again. Yeah. I'm not pulling it up. I'm just gonna guess to see if I remember.
Yeah. Clean the swamp. Dayball and Shane can catch the same bus.
Who was that?
I'm gonna go with. Drew again. Drew's just sitting on his phone the entire time, just letting it fly.
That's awesome.
I let it up to you guys.
We appreciate it. You're typing what we're thinking.
This one is totally out of context, so it's even funnier. Johnson caught a hooker from behind. Who was that? One? There we go. So that was when tight end Johnson ran down Hooker, who was the defensive back, but. Out of context,
you don't get to see that every day. Johnson caught a hooker from behind.
Yeah, we are the greatest kicking franchise of all time.
Well, duh.
Let's see.
It's all about the kickers.
I'm gonna struggle to read this one. Dable has a wide set, but.
Can't even read it.
A wide set vagina.
Oh man. I'm gonna guess that was on a 3rd and short call.
Yeah, that's when he didn't. That's when he didn't go for it, and we had already kicked 30 times already. I'm like, at this point,
yeah. When we were on the 3, I mean, come on, like, what's the worst that happens? Yeah. Like, as long as he doesn't throw a pick 6 here, like, not like, what's the worst? They get the ball to 3. Yeah. Like,
and they still didn't even make a shot in the end zone. Here's a stat: if you don't throw it in the end zone ever, you can't actually score. Just that's stat.
It's Wayne Gretzky. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You never take.
So, yeah. If I saw Slayton in person, I would give him a Mike Tyson uppercut. That was after the drop. Cool. That would be Paco again.
He did have some bad drops. He
did. And the last one, concussion for neighbors, absolute kick in the dick. So that's our segment of Who Sent the Text. Paco wins this week big time. I think he was 7 or 8 of those.
Wow, that's awesome.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess Daboll's wearing the hat. The streak ended at 1 win because he did have the hat on again. It didn't matter.
He's got to shave the beard and do something different now. He's got to do something different.
One more stat, too. Giants are 49-85 since the great Tom Coughlin stopped being our coach. 49-85. In fact, I'm too scared to do the research, but I think this stretch could rival just about any 10-year stretch in this organization.
Of futility.
So yeah.
Well, here's a test for you, or any one of us can look it up because freaking internet.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, because Dad said that from the year he got the tickets until 82,
81,
no playoffs.
Yeah, to 81, and one 8-8 season.
Yeah.
Or 500 season, 7-7, whatever year it was. Yeah.
So what's that? 15 years?
Yeah. But I'm curious about record, though, because we've had some, we could lose far more games. We play 17 now. They only play 14. True. So I think over a 10-year stretch, we might have more losses. That's what I'm talking about.
And we made the playoffs 2 times in the last, 8 years?
We did.
And that's coming off of Super Bowls in a couple years. That's not like a Super Bowl and then you wait 50 years and get another one. We just had 1, 2 in a 10-year span.
Well, and what's crazy, what's crazy is, and I hope this isn't repeating itself, but it feels like it is. Both playoffs came first year new head coach, where you thought, "Oh wow, this is our guy," and then McAdoo became a total hipster douche. And I mean, Daboll, I still like Daboll. Well, he started slicking his hair back, he was a porn stash guy with a part in the middle. It looked like a total nerd. Next thing you know, he's got the hair slicked back. He's Mr. Cool. Anyway, Daboll, I want to like him, but the play calling frustrates me, and some of the mistakes that are were you really under Bill Belichick? Because his teams didn't make that mistake, drive me crazy. So anyway,
I think if we had a quarterback that could throw more than 15 yards down the field, I would like to see, because you saw Brian Daboll with the quarterback with that in Buffalo, and it looked a lot different.
And funny you should say that, because Colin Cowherd talked about that and said if the Giants had Josh Allen, they're a Super Bowl contender.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We had, honestly, even if we had Jameis, I think we're a playoff team.
It was water.
Jameis would launch it.
He's not afraid of long ball.
No, Jameis will launch everywhere. This is Mr. 5,000, 30, and 30.
What do you have, 20, 30 interceptions in a season?
30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, 5,000 yards. And he couldn't see the linebacker.
That was the season where Mike Evans had almost 300 receiving yards against us in one game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, age.
Yeah. But I
love Jameis. Jameis makes me laugh because he's throwing it.
Evans, that guy's walking into Canton. Evans. He is special.
He's
underappreciated. He is special. As many of these hot shot receivers come along, this guy has been amazing for a very long time.
10 years of 1,000 yards?
Yeah. Every year he's played in the NFL, he's had 1,000 yards.
And that's with missing games in those seasons too.
Manziel should have given his Heisman to Evans because that's why he won it. Because it was basically run around like a madman and chuck it up to Mike. It's basically the game plan. So, all right, we'll wrap it up with Seahawks predictions. All right. Thoughts? Go ahead, Lucas. You look like you got something to say.
Well, we are going to Seattle. We've had some really weird games in Seattle.
Have. Yes,
we've gotten blown out. We've won with Colt McCoy and Alfred Morris leading us to victory.
That's right.
So who really knows?
We had was it 11 false starts the one time, and we still should have won? I think it was 11.
Yes, that was
ridiculous.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and we still should have won. So
I feel he missed a field goal at the end or something. So
I have to predict the Giants when you can't be a Giants podcast and predict them to lose, even if I have my doubts of them being able to pull it off. We'll see. Old friend Leonard Williams is leading the NFL in quarterback hits and pressures. Would have been nice to have him still, but
yeah.
Bryce Love.
Heck,
Bryce Love playing the ball
now.
too.
I would think with Gino, we are a playoff team. Gino, absolutely.
So
this is a different sport. I apologize for the interruption, but it is necessary. Pete Rose died.
He did.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we lost to Kembe.
And now those bastards will put him in the Hall of Fame. You watch.
Yep.
And that will be so. That's awful.
Yeah.
They salute you when you're dead.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I'll go 24-17 Giants. We'll score some touchdowns.
Okay. Pot?
Like Lucas said, we've had some weird instances there in Seattle. It is a 4:30 game. I feel like those 4:30 games are a little weird for us sometimes, especially West Coast. I just don't think we had the firepower to do it. They might keep it close, but I'm going to go 24-21 Seahawks.
Okay. So we got the same score, just reversed. Right?
No, mine was 17. I said
17. Okay.
That's a touchdown difference, yeah.
My brother Steve, your thoughts?
Well, damn. I did a very stupid thing. I decided to look up statistics to see where Seattle ranks in certain areas.
Oh, no.
You're good.
Oh, yes. In overall yards allowed, they are the number one team in the NFL. They're giving up less than 250 yards a game.
And they're playing tonight, too, right? Aren't they playing?
Yeah, they're playing right now in Detroit.
It's based on per game, and they are going against Detroit, so that could change.
Yeah. Detroit's in the red zone up 7-0 in the second quarter.
And they're the fourth best passing team in the NFL.
Well, hopefully you and your pregame stats reverse again this time.
That's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it.
Well, Kenneth Walker for 203.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But
not what I meant, Drew. Not what I meant.
That's what I'm thinking. Reverse.
Yeah.
No passing, all rushing.
Do we have a word on Neighbors and the likelihood of him playing?
That's a good.
I would assume he's going to be like the reports come out to Wednesday. It doesn't come out till Wednesday.
10 points is modest. I give him 3. If Neighbors doesn't play,
if Neighbors doesn't play, we're not scoring more than 10 points unless something weird happens.
Yeah,
I just don't know who can do it.
We'll know more Wednesday because that's when the first injury report comes out. But I would assume like he had 10 days. A lot of guys clear protocol like in the same week. I'm hopeful, but concussions are weird. I've had a couple. I don't know how it goes.
And the travel comes into play too. Going West Coast, the time they take that into account too with concussion stuff. So
the change in the air pressure could actually do funky things to your blood flow, your blood pressure.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm gonna go low, like 14-10, and of course, I'm going to say we're going to win just because I have to be a Giants fan and we need hope. So, but I think D actually creates some turnovers this time. That's what I think is going to be the difference. We take the ball away in a couple critical moments. So, we'll see. All right, I think we're all just waiting for them to twist the knife a little more.
Here's something of which to be proud of, though. We are third in the NFL in sacks.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the Browns game really pumped those numbers up. We had 8 in one game. Like that's.
Hey, those counted too.
Kayvon sacked Dak for the first time we've had a sack against Dak since 2021.
Really?
Shout out Kayvon.
We'll end on that stat.
Shout out Kayvon.
We're gonna call it out here, guys. Another great show. Enjoyed it. Love you. Have a good week, and we'll find time to break down Seattle. Peace.
Out.
See ya.